All right, welcome. Everyone ready? Okay. Yes. You don't have a microphone? You want to show? Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay. So thank you for joining us on the stage today. I greatly appreciate it. We all had a chance to talk in preparation for this. So Amit, first question is going to come to you. As a sports fan, significant improvements have occurred in the last 12 to 18 months, which I very excited. 13-year-old Michael is very jealous of what we just saw up on the screen. Where was the fan experience faltering, and how did Amazon help its customers leverage AI to improve it?
Absolutely, great question. Can you all hear me? Yeah. I think the previous fan experience, if you look at it, and I'll talk about both like in person for a live event as well as in like virtually, like when you're watching a sport event being kind of telecast live. I think there was like very limited personalization. And then a lot of times when you wanted to learn about any particular stats, those stats would not be necessarily relevant to you. Let's say if you are a fan and you're searching for content on, let's say, Netflix, you would have to potentially go out and search, spend a lot of time looking for that information. I think Netflix is probably not a good example. I think they actually solved that problem with personalization. But getting to the right content was one of the major challenges. And how AWS and particularly I think our teams have worked with our customers is I'll maybe kind of talk about a few examples in terms of how we have improved the overall fan experience. So particularly with the NFL, we worked with them to come up with a new tackling probability indicator, which is a new stat. And that is something that was built in partnership with AWS. They have been a long-time customer of ours. And tackling, if you know, if you have been following NFL, I'm sure like some of you are fans here, is one of the harder problems to really get around. So they built like machine learning algorithms. They looked at 2 million data points, and for one-tenth of a second of a play, it can really take a lot of those 2 million data points, about 11 players that are on a field, and it can give you the probability of whether the tackle is going to happen or not for each of the players. So using that, they're able to kind of provide that stat live, and it's already in production. If you combine that tackling stat with the yards predictor, if you are a defender and you make the tackle, you can see like how many yards you saved right there. And if you miss the tackle, you can see that how many yards you could have potentially saved if you had made that tackle. So that's kind of one example. We also have example of soccer. If you have been a fan of soccer, I like soccer. I follow Bundesliga quite a lot. So Bundesliga is the German soccer league. And they used Amazon, particularly Amazon Personalize, to create Bundesliga sorts. And that's an application which is like on their Bundesliga app. You can go and check it out. They have actually really used the service to send personalized recommendations in terms of the short form videos to their end users. And by doing that, they were able to increase the users kind of usage of those videos from 400 seconds to about 640 seconds on an average. And a typical user, when they are coming to the app, they're watching about 14 videos. So by using some of these personalization and generative AI techniques within these applications, they have been able to increase the user retention by quite a lot. The other example that comes to my mind is PGA Tour. So PGA Tour, what they did was they are coming up with text-to-text commentary, and they were able to utilize that first, coming up with real-time play commentary using text, and now they have been able to kind of move that to an audio setting as well. So those are kind of some of the examples in how AWS has worked with its customers and kind of improving the end customer's experience and when they're viewing these experiences live on TV or on in apps.
I love the predictive analytics on fourth down, whether they should go for it or not, because as a fan, I'm always like, go for it. And so Amazon has backed up on some of those stats with that. You mentioned something though, and I didn't know this, so I wanted to ask you, not only with tackling, the NFL is looking now for safety. Can they use this to say, don't tackle here, don't hit here? They just changed And opening it up, they changed, I think, a hip tackling rule now because they saw people wrapping up and dropping. Is that a way, not just the productivity and the team's output, but safety that they're using some of this data?
Yeah, I'll have to kind of, I think maybe that's the next model that they want to build out. So this is the tackling probability model that I just shared. It's one of the 50 machine learning models that NFL team has built in partnership with AWS. So maybe like on the safety front, maybe that's the next thing they want to kind of potentially tackle as part of this problem solving.
Excellent, thanks, I appreciate that. So next question for Bill. Bill, InterDigital has 50 years of heritage and innovation, foundational, and continue to research, design, and develop audio, video, AI technology. You're empowering all these extraordinary experiences with your tech. What are you most proud of now? What do you see what's upcoming in the tech for the sports and entertainment industry that's going to take it to the next level?
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I mean, right now, our foundational technologies are indispensable on a daily basis. Everybody is using them all day long. Coming forward,
real quick, is your microphone on?
It pretends to be.
Could everyone hear him out there? No? Okay.
Okay, cycling power lights up again.
There we go.
So a reboot cures everything. So what's coming forward with immersive technologies, we've contributed to video and wireless and now AI technologies. And in the immersive field, they've been described thoroughly in what's the recently published MPEG-I standards. And this is an array of technologies that includes video point cloud compression. This is a new form of video. It's a highly evolved 3D experience, video you could walk around. So what do you do for that for sports? Is this now, you get the end zone dance showing up on your coffee table, or if you're in stadium, it's right in the aisle next to you, as well as down on the field. What are artists going to do that? That's who can predict that? Another technology is the MPEG immersive video, and this is how, well, sitting at home, you reproduce the stadium experience around yourself. Or if you're in stadium, this is, you can be teleported to, the Hall of Fame and, told what records are predicted maybe to fall in this game and be on the lookout for that. Or what could be done with that? It's immersive, it's amazing. The MPEG-I includes audio, but also streaming haptic experience. So bringing the sense of touch to the audience, and this could be very subtle, or maybe if you're watching American football, it's not at all subtle, or Formula One, feel what the driver is experiencing, in different critical moments. It's amazing. But you ask what I'm most proud of. I mean, the thing that, and kind of a tech nerd, this amazes me, is the MPEG scene description, where all the components of an immersive experience are arrayed around you in space and in time, and the artist determines what's going to be important. What are the key story elements here? What is the most important thing to experience, given where you're looking, given what you're paying attention to, given what's close to you. And all of these rich experiences the components require bandwidth, and how do you allocate that? You're interfacing with 5G, maybe 6G in the future, and allocating that bandwidth to the most important story elements, to the thing that is most going to define your experience. And allocating that bandwidth and calling for the right assets at the right resolution, at the right frame rate, at the right level of quality to make the best possible experience. While that goes on, okay, total nerding out, that is my absolutely, I'm proud of that particular element. But it's all there in the MPEG-I standards, and we're going to see people adopting that going forward and building experiences and turning that over to artists to see what they can create with it.
Fantastic. Appreciate the insights there. Mariana, hello. Question for you. You're leveraging Web3 and AI to bring new methods for film and TV production. Big film, big binger here, so very excited about this. How rapidly, in your eyes, is the film and entertainment industry changing? We heard earlier in the prior discussion that you moderated how rapid it is and what it's going to bring. Can you talk a little bit about these advancements and possibly give us some more examples that we could understand better?
So now I have a different example beyond film and TV. Now that I've heard everyone talk about the venues, I have to address that. But film and TV are fundamentally shifting. This is the first time that there's actually a technology that would allow a filmmaker to create a script with ChatGPT or one of the other tools. You know, the AWS is Titan. Yeah, Amazon Titan, or any of the other tools. So basically, that is fundamentally changing the storytelling, and that's never happened. The immersion, which is what everybody's talking about here, the immersive experiences at the venues and in general, that's been something we've been working on for decades in the digital media space, and having that as an opportunity now with AI, with 5G, with private networks is amazing. There's a company we've been accelerating since 2018. So when I listened to the venue presentation from Boingo, the earlier presentation about the metaverse integration, I just want to kind of talk about this for a second. This business has been built. This is already running, so it's not like a futuristic view. It's called Superworld. It has an AR world that's overlaid over our world with the 64 billion plots of land. And you can buy, it's 100 by 100, like the size of a Dodger Stadium. You can buy that particular piece of land in Superworld and you own it. Now, that's kind of exciting. They have a deal with Sports Illustrated for 250,000 events globally in all these venues that they're selling in Superworld. That's somewhat exciting. But what's really exciting is this new filters feature. So you, as an influencer, Amit, since you meet with everybody in the world of AI, could have your own version of the filter. And you can say, I follow Amit, so when I go to Orlando next time, I want to see where to stay. I want to see what things to see, where to go, where to eat. So wherever I go, you would get a piece of the revenue from that particular recommendation. But also, if you own that land, you would get a piece of ownership of the land. However, if you're a venue, you can expand your business now that you connected all your fans through 5G and a private network, and you have interactivity in the venue. You can actually charge local businesses to be part of your filtered world, and you could be making recommendations to the local experiences around your venue. And I feel that that is sort of the business model in AR that actually will work, and we built it. It's live. Superworldapp.com. You can check it out and get some land.
Absolutely, I am in need of land. More land. I want it all. Thank you, I appreciate that. Ryan, appreciate you joining us today. What Moflix is doing right now, you're working with Nagra Vision on things for telco and the broadcast industries. Can you kind of get us up to speed on what's going on?
Sure. So what Moflix does is we provide our telco tech solution, which allows telecom operators to provide an entire mobile operator in an app. So you don't need to go to a shop or anything. You can do everything, the entire customer lifecycle in an app. Nagra has been working for decades on providing security for broadcasters mainly, but also for telco. What we're doing is we're combining our solution with theirs and basically building what they're calling Infinity Play as a solution for telco, for broadcast providers to provide a white labeled super app to allow people to access their content without having to buy a monthly subscription or have a set-top box. It basically does three things. First of all, it allows more content than just theirs. They can become a content consolidator, bringing in other video streaming, gaming, music content that they can then sell to their customers. It increases their customer base because at the center of it is a Web3 wallet, so that people can load that wallet and then buy the content. Remember that in the world there are 6 billion people with smartphones, but less than a third of those actually have a bank account. So with this, they can preload the wallet and then buy the content, but they can do it in a way that they need or want. So it can be a monthly subscription, a weekly subscription, a daily subscription. They can buy one show from one content provider and another show from another content provider. So they can really mix and match to do it the way they want to. They will also have loyalty programs where you can get free content, you can get money to put it into a gaming or whatever. And these are all tokenized, which means that the subscriptions and the rewards can actually become commodities themselves and can be sold, traded, given to other people, which also acts as an organic way to build the customer base for those broadcasters. Because you can give them to anyone that has a wallet, but in order to redeem them, you have to be in the ecosystem managed by that operator.
So let me ask a follow-up to the group here. We've all discussed immersive experience. Peter John had an amazing presentation earlier. I'm going to put my technology consultant bad guy hat on right here. There's a lot of data behind all of that. The advancements are moving fast. What is the appropriate balance of bringing the technology to market, but examining how you keep it secure along the way and things that people might want to consider along the way? Any thoughts amongst the group?
Yeah, I can take that. I think that is absolutely the most important thing, right? I mean, I think having data to be able to use and put that to work through AI. I mean, AI works on data. If there is no data, there is no AI. And you can use like ChatGPT, you can use some of the like Amazon products, but it only starts to improve productivity for you and deriving benefit for you if you start feeding it your own data, right? So that's when the true productivity improvements and benefits come out to you as consumers. Now, there is a challenge with that, right? Like when you are sharing data, or when enterprises or businesses are sharing data, they want to make sure that none of that data gets shared with the model provider, and the model provider is not using that data to train their own models. And because if they do that, that data gets exposed to the wider internet, and you can be held liable. I mean, of course, Europe has come up with the AI regulations already. There are regulatory landscape is continuously evolving. So yeah, I mean, I think you definitely want to play and kind of take a look at the security and privacy factors when you're adopting these latest technologies to create an immersive fan experience. The other thing I would say is that, again, going back to the data, you want to have the data, but you also want to have the data in the right quality, because a lot of times where we have seen customers struggle is when they have the data, but the data is not in a usable format, and they cannot really get any meaningful insights out of that. So that's kind of another example where customers typically, I mentioned NFL, right? They have been so successful because they have been working with us for a long period of time, and they have real-time data. The models that I talked about, those were trained on the data from 2018 to 2022, and then they tested it on the data from 2023. So they have live feeds, and they can actually analyze these feeds to come up with these new stats and kind of improve the fan experience for the users. So I think having right quality of data and paying attention to security and privacy is absolutely important.
So we have another accelerated company called Numbers Protocol out of Taiwan. They are 20-year experienced AI scientists that in 2019 decided in order to protect some of this key data, mainly they're focused on media, so video, audio, files, you needed to put them on chain. So they built a blockchain solution for that. And it's the way to track the existing media, the existing content. Back then they realized, they had like Binance, founder of Twitch, founder of YouTube, and Protocol Labs invest in them into this. They're all kind of interested in building these models. They realize that when the AI comes, there will be so much data, some of it corrupt, some of it reshaping it in the positive or negative way to the content providers, desires. So they feel like by 2 years maybe from now, we will have our pre-AI data, whether it's knowledge based communications and enterprises, or it's media data, and then we will have these AI enhanced subsets of data. So you have your content as it was, and you'll have your AI content going forward, and you will track ownership in this way of all of it. So I feel that these sort of blockchain solutions are very helpful in authenticating where the data comes from and who's using it in which way at the moment.
So much of an immersive experience is the content that goes into that, and one of the secure aspects that you're not being spoofed, that you're not receiving fake content. You probably heard of the C2PA organizations, content provenance and authentication, so that it's very much like a political ad. I'm Bill Redmond and I approve this message. It's a cryptologically sound demonstration that this content is authored by and asserted by who you believe it to be.
Ryan, you and I were talking about validated credentials. Is now maybe
This is a good time
maybe
to
a good
talk
time to
about it,
we're gonna
yes.
maybe now's the time.
At least here in the U.S., there's a lot of jurisdictions now that are taking age restrictions very seriously. For a lot of services in the internet, it has been an issue for a long time. So, for example, social media shouldn't be allowing children under 12 or 14 or whatever it is to access or to create accounts in their platforms. But all they have to do right now is change their birth year, and they have the access. With the new laws that are coming out now, those platforms can become liable if underage children are accessing their content. What we're doing for Infinity Play, but we've also done it for our telecom customers, is that these Web3 wallets that we are providing have validated credentials in them. So when you register your subscription, or you register or activate your wallet, you have to go through a KYC process. You have to provide your operator your identification, and then you need to prove that it's you who's showing that. Because we're working in a regulated industry, that operator, and because you have an ongoing relationship with that operator, and because they've checked your ID, they become a trusted entity that will verify that you are who you say you are and that you are of a certain age, and then we can put those credentials into your wallet. For example, and we already have this on the market now, my cellular service provider here in the States is a newly launched MVNO called Fligs Mobile. Also happened to be my customer, but that's irrelevant. So in addition to their pitch to the market, in addition to providing really good cellular service, they give cash back as Bitcoin. In order to manage that, I have to have a wallet. So within my Fligs app, I have a Web3 wallet. And in that, in addition to my Bitcoin that I can manage from the wallet, I have 4 pieces of validated credentials. My name, so they verified that I'm Ryan Gold. I don't need to show my ID to anybody else where they can get my address or my birth date or anything. It's just, we've checked it, his name is Ryan. That's all you need to know. My age, it shows that I'm over 21 years old. In my case, I passed that milestone a long time ago, but you could have it, you'd say, this person is over 14 but under 18, this person is over 18 but under 21, this person is over 21. That way you can pass those age credential checks without exposing the personal data. Again, you don't have to give your ID to someone that you don't know or don't trust. You don't even have to give the birth date. All you do is say, we've checked it, we know this person, they are over 18. Unlock the content, it's fine. The other 2 pieces of credentials that I have, certificates I have in my wallet, is my phone number, which could really change the way that we do number portability in telco. I own that. I have a certificate that says that I own that. Nobody else can steal it from me. And then my residency, or in my case, I use the passport to sign up, so it shows that I'm a U.S. citizen. But we could also do it where you could use your driver's license and it will show I am a resident of the state of Nebraska. So if you want to provide services only to people in the state of Nebraska, you don't need to see my ID. You have my credential in the wallet. There's some use cases for gaming, which is really exciting. You could create your online persona, your username, put a credential in your wallet that I am Ryan is the Awesomest. And every time I go and play any game where I use that persona, everyone knows it's me. They don't need to know who I am in real life. They just need to know that I'm Ryan is the Awesomest. So it proves, first of all, that I am Ryan is the Awesomest, and the second of all, it proves that Ryan is the Awesomest, which is...
That's fantastic. If we see that in Fortnite, we'll know it's you.
Yeah, but it crosses also different platforms as well. So I can build my reputation, and then as I go from platform to platform, everyone knows I'm the same person.
Yeah, funny story, we were talking about authorized credentials. So working in the security world, we get very interesting stories. And about 6 years ago, there was a Twitter post that went around, and someone was at a concert, went backstage, they adjusted the Wikipedia page of the band and put their name as a cousin to the lead singer. And then they showed the security guard, hey, it's my cousin, I want to go. Look, and pulled up Wikipedia and showed it to him. The security guard was like, oh, sure. And so he went back there, partied with the band all night, and the next day they posted on Twitter that story, and they're like legends. So you gotta. I thought that was a creative way to leverage it. So, Mariana, I want to go back to you real quick, though. So, one of the things that I think we might have all followed was the screenwriters strike that occurred. But we've been talking about, in the previous session that you moderated, artificial intelligence is taking months and days and moving things really quickly. Do you mind, in your industry, just providing us some perspectives on that?
So a friend of mine is a producer with National Geographic, which is one of the best, I would say, documentary filmmaking companies on the planet. And she's working on another, hurricane story, kind of, I would say, appropriate, right? We all survived another one. I was asking her how is she going about doing this? And she said, she's been hired for 2 years by National Geographic to kind of research, this happened about 20 years ago, to research what happened there and get some human interest stories. And I'm asking, well, how do you do that? And she said, well, I go to the local universities. I try to find people that went to school there at the time, see what's happened to them, where they are today. I look at newspaper articles, et cetera, et cetera. And so I said, well, did you use ChatGPT for any of that? And of course, no. The answer was no. I said to ChatGPT myself one morning, I was like, why do we do a documentary about decentralized finance? And I've literally asked everyone in the Producers Guild and TV Academy that year, do you know anything about decentralized finance? And they said no. So I asked ChatGPT, let's write a script. Script came out in 2 minutes. Who should I interview? About 30 names came out in another 2 minutes. So you literally could create a documentary about what is decentralized finance, how it's helping the underbanked and the unbanked around the globe, and get all the information that an experienced producer can use to actually produce the film very quickly, not 2 years, but 1 hour maybe total. And so that is a very powerful tool that in the hands of that National Geographic producer would have sped up her time to market, from 2 years to maybe a month or so. And then her pre-production time would have been shortened. Her production, that's not to say that we don't need her. We need her. She's been doing this for a couple of decades. She needs to be in charge of all that. But she doesn't need to spend 2 years at a library or going through microfiche or searching online and hoping for the best. She needs these tools to aggregate all that information. To that point, at the Television Academy, I'm on the task force for AI. We decided to invite, a variety of companies. I've been trying to get a meet there, but we have 11 labs and Runway and, OpenAI coming. And we call it your AI toolkit. And everyone in the academy has tried to find me to get an invite to this because they don't invite every group. And literally every group of the academy wants to be invited to learn about these AI tools. So I think whatever happened with the strike was a bit of a self-inflicted wound of people who are sort of scared of what the future will bring.
A similar experience too. I think some of the dock workers they're concerned about artificial intelligence too. So this is not happening just alone in there. Amit, did you have a follow-up?
Just wanted to add there. I think like I won't comment on the strike specifically, but like just to kind of add to Mariana's example, like we have a customer called Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and they manage like the Toronto teams. I think most all of the like top Toronto teams like Toronto Maple Leafs, Toronto Raptors, they are managed by that team. And they are using a video editing software, of course, using Amazon Bedrock and some of the generative AI services that we provide, along with 12 labs. And they are now able to do video editing at a much faster pace and do that with natural language. Like you just need to be able to interact with that software. It's a web-based software. You just need to know plain, simple English to be able to create video snippets of a live game that their team just played, and they're able to kind of create that video editing process and minimize that by a significant amount, right? So I think these kind of tools, generative AI or AI, these technologies are there to assist the editors. They're not here to necessarily replace them just yet. I don't think like we are there yet.
Okay, so Amit, hold on 1 second really quick. Let me ask you a follow-up now. What are the considerations we should all put into place and pay attention to as we look to leverage AI and deliver these experiences? What should we be thinking about?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So right now, I think we were just talking to Sean and I, right? I think one of the big things that a lot of customers and even like you as like an individual or consumers are dealing with is that the AI space particularly is evolving at such a rapid space that it's hard to keep track of all the innovation that is coming out. I mean, if you have been following this space, there is new model kind of being announced every single day, and the newest model is better than the previous model and whatnot. So I think one thing that you as consumers can do is get started. Don't wait for the latest and the best model to come out, or don't wait for things to settle. I mean, it may sound like I'm kind of creating like a fear of missing out. The fear of missing out is real. I think a lot of customers who are probably not getting started today may get disrupted or will be at the risk of disruption. So one thing I would say is that get started, start playing around with this technology. I think Mariana was just mentioning she has started using this technology in her day-to-day. More you can start to kind of get familiar with this technology and start to integrate this in your day-to-day workflows, the better. So that's one. The other I would just kind of quickly talk through with a quick example. We have a customer called Cameo, and one of our partners. I work with partners a lot on the IM machine learning side. Loca, they are a consulting partner. They work with Cameo. So Cameo, if you haven't heard of them, they are a fan experience platform wherein they can, if you go there, you can search from any of the 50,000 celebrities that they have on their platform, and you can use them to send a personalized message to your family or friends, and that celebrity will be able to kind of deliver that. So of course you have to make a payment. So the reason I'm bringing that example is that Loca worked with this and they simplified the search experience for their users. So it was really hard to previously search from one amongst the 50,000 celebrities that you want to pick to deliver that message. They greatly simplified that, and it was only possible because of three things. Number one is data, right? So I think I mentioned that previously. You need to be able to have the right data in place so that you can actually do search and AI on top of that. And so they were able to really index all of that data. I mean, not going into technical terms here, but indexing that data and then being able to kind of get insights and get to the right celebrities. And then when kind of you as a user go onto the platform, you can just search through natural language interfaces and then get to the right celebrity. The second thing is security and privacy. So when you're going and searching for this information, you want to make sure that your information, your family and friends information, and the celebrity information doesn't get leaked to the model provider, right? So you want to kind of take, or doesn't get leaked on the internet. So you want to kind of pay special attention to security and privacy. And the third thing is is the regulatory aspect of it, right? So I think depending on the jurisdiction that you're operating in, whether you are in a particular state within the US or in Europe, European Union, you have to be kind of compliant to the local regulations, and the regulatory aspect is continuously changing with AI. So make sure that you follow what is latest and you stay compliant and be on the right side of regulation rather be on the other side.
Perfect. Marianne, do you have something?
I've been on these innovation panels for most of my career and been in innovation my whole career. And I feel that, you know, we sit here on this panel and every one of the companies, we're bringing up more and more and more companies that are doing a lot of the things already that seem sort of like magic, right? And I feel like we're almost like in the business of magic creation. And that's what kind of AI enables us. It's taking everything that's inside, you know, our thoughts and brains and all the knowledge that we humans and creativity possess and being able to exercise it. And we do have technologies that can actually execute on them. And that's what's fascinating about this next wave of innovation.
Well, speaking of magic, I think unplanned but perfect to our former Disney Technicolor into InterDigital. You know, Disney says it's fun to do the impossible, and you and I were chatting about it. So how do we get there? What is the future? Take it home, Bill. How are we going to finish this thing out?
Oh, awesome. So the immersive media types that, you know, we're looking forward to have come out, just recently published in the MPEG-I, you know, MPEG Interactive, immersive, and that comes about by a competitive process. You know, there's some reference software and all of the contributors. InterDigital is one of them, but you know, we can't take credit. We're like one of many dozens of companies contributing to these technologies. And the way it works, and it's fascinating, it's like a technological cage match where 2 or 3 good ideas enter and one leaves. And it might not be one of the ones that entered because you know, you can get these interactions, these hybridizations. You think of this as, you know, the term they use is co-opetition. You know, they're competing, but they're cooperating because they want the best possible outcome to make it into the standards. That's what we want. And so the standards are out, and a component of the standard being published is that reference software. That's the summation of all those good ideas. And it works. It proves that the technologies are there and are usable. And that's where we are right now today. Where we go next is implementers springboarding off of that reference software. I mean, this is software that was designed as a prototype to make prototyping easy. It's not a product. It's not optimized. You know, it's, you know, and optimizations that implementers will bring are on the orders, you know, factor of 1,000 faster or 1,000 times less energy consumed. It's something you could release maybe an alpha product or maybe a beta with, but it's not something you go permanently. What you want is people taking optimizations, people judging, you know, how much of a shortcut they can afford and still maintain the sufficient level of quality. You've got companies who are going to take that algorithm optimized and then reduce that to silicon. So, you know, the power consumption is almost negligible on your phone. You know, the last thing you want, the way you don't want to end an excellent experience is, you know, I finished up this amazing evening at the stadium and now I don't have enough battery to call my Uber. Instead, you want, you know, super efficient, and to the extent that, you know, these immersive tasks are fundamentally too complicated and too heavy to be performed on, you know, whatever the display of the future looks like, offload that heavy computation to the edge nodes of your network, your 5G, your 6G. This isn't cloud computing necessarily, because cloud computing is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 milliseconds further away. That's too far for the kind of interactivity and low latency that you need for truly immersive experiences. But the time of flight to the edge, the turnaround, send back a lightweight video, just, so that the simple device can do what it needs to do without running out of battery or overheating. That's going to be just a game change. Edge compute on the network is a fundamentally new technology. And your conversational AI, you've got hundreds of milliseconds. Conversations naturally have pauses. So AI in the cloud, not a problem. But what they talk about as motion to pixel latency. I've turned my head, I'm paying attention to something new, something needs to come into sharper focus, higher resolution, because now I'm staring at it, and it's important to my story. That has to happen before my eyes can even perceive that it was just a blur 10 milliseconds ago. So, fascinating.
Thank you, Bill. And Amit, Mariana, Bill, Ryan, thank you for joining us today. I hope you all found this informative and enjoyable. Enjoy the rest of your conference, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.